Somalia's Prime Minister has quit following a power struggle with the country's president. Omar Abdirashid Shamak has been under pressure to quit from Sheikh Sharif Ahmed and from other MPs who've been threatening to hold a vote of confidence. Well, a little bit of background for you here about the resignation. Sheikh Sharif Ahmed, the president, took over in January of last year, but by May of this year, his relationship with his Prime Minister looking pretty terrible. The president forced to backtrack on an attempt to sack Abdirashid Shamak. Now, bruised by the U-turn, the latest standoff between the two is focused on the country's draft constitution and whether, as the president wants, it should be put to a referendum or simply voted on by members of the parliament. So what does this mean to the people of Somalia? What does it mean to the international community and the number of foreign troops that are in Somalia? Let's talk now to Abdi, ain't he? One of our journalists here at Al Jazeera. Is it going to make any difference, either to the international community or to the people of Somalia?
It might actually make a difference over time, but it's probably unlikely to make a big difference. Now, this is part of the change mantra that the president had announced just about a week ago when he addressed the parliament, and he said that he wants to change everything. I think it's going to do three things right away. First of all, it's going to put an end to the crippling disunity that has plagued the transitional federal government for the past 6 months. Secondly, it might give the president to appoint someone that he sees as an ally, someone who can be seen as more competent than the current prime minister. And finally, it may give the international community an opportunity to re-engage the transitional federal government.
Let's talk about this transitional federal government, which doesn't even control all of the capital, Mogadishu. What power does it have?
It really does not have a lot of power on the ground, so to speak. But part of that is because it has spent a significant amount of its existence quarreling among itself, infighting among the president and the prime minister and so on. But by and large, the government does not have a power, but it's being seen by the public in general, compared to the Shabab, maybe as an alternative, but it has not presented as a strong alternative to the public.
And what difference might this make to the international community? I'm thinking, let's say, of the United States, which sees Somalia as a hotbed of terrorism, wants to fight al-Shabaab and other al-Qaeda-linked groups there. We've got African Union troops in there, maybe international peacekeepers could go in. Is it going to sort of sway the vote one way or the other when it comes to that?
Possibly. The onus now is on the president to appoint someone who is seen by the international community as a competent, someone who is not corrupt, because the current government is also being plagued by a huge amount of corruption, and that's why you had a lot of reservation on the part of the international community, on the part of the African Union. Now, if they see a more competent government, a prime minister who's more competent than the current one, maybe there is an opportunity to send more troops and to augment the government. That's because the transitional federal charter, the constitution of the country, gives the prime minister a lot of the executive power, and that's why he's seen as someone who can actually make a change.
All right, two questions. If he had executive power in the first place, why did he appoint somebody who the international community saw as incompetent? And secondly, if you're a government that has very little power, how do you prove that you're competent?
Well, back in February 2009, when the president was elected, he appointed the current prime minister. Obviously, no one had known the current prime minister because he was only a son of a former president, but he did not really bring a huge credential. That's one. But also, at the time, there was a lot of momentum in favor of the transitional federal government. That momentum is now gone for the past year or so. So it's probably now the government has a very limited opportunity to make a difference. It only has about 9 months or so remaining in its mandate.
Abdi, thanks very much indeed, and we can read some of your in-depth analysis of the situation on our website, yes. aljazeera.net/English. Thanks very much for coming on to the programme.